This podcast is a proud member of the UUOP network.
This is episode 620 of the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast for July 16th, 2024. Hello everyone, welcome to another show. It is me, Lee. I am here with Michelle.
It's me again.
I had to get my own back, by the way. Yeah, it's just us two again. Because spoilers, if you don't know, we record these one after the other, so Chris is still at work and Tracy's still dead. I shouldn't say that, she might be.
Dang, she's not dead.
We had something else planned for this week, to be fair, which I still want to happen, but there was logistics of connecting with that person, and it's been a very stressful week and is going to continue to be, because I don't think I've told Michelle what's going on this week yet. Behind the scenes at home, incredibly stressful, so I just wanted to do something quick and simple and easy this week, rather than doing that. So I recently sent out an email to the Producers Club off the back of listening to a Disney podcast. It might have been Main Street Magic, I can't remember. Kind of give me the idea of doing a show based on... So I asked the Producers Club for their suggestions for free things to keep as souvenirs, as well as experiences that you can have at Universal Orlando. So things that are included in your park ticket, but aren't like the usual rides, shows and attractions and stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is kind of, I alluded to this at the back end of last week's episode, where the homogenization of things has stopped those little souvenirs being a thing. So Michelle, you probably know the same thing. When we started going to Orlando for the first time back in 2004, we collected a lot of napkins from, so I'm going to go specifically Disney at this point. So, brain won't work. What is the sort of quick service place in the Polynesian? Not Ohana's, but we have got some from Ohana's. The other one on the opposite side. What's it called?
Kona Cafe?
Kona Cafe, yes. So we collect the napkins from there, or coasters, or whatever it might be, because they were all branded Walt Disney World Resort with the actual place, even for the longest time. I don't think they're a thing now. I think they're just generic. In fact, they might even just be plain. But at Springfield, when you went to Fast Food Boulevard, when that first opened, all the paper napkins were printed with Springfield, like the Springfield logo on it, and now they're not. So a lot of those little things that used to be free souvenirs for you to bring home from the parks aren't a thing anymore.
Right. And when you asked me to come up with a few things, it was a little bit more difficult than it would have been 5 years ago, because they have, and this goes off of what we spoke about in last week's episode, is a lot of the things now are being, what's the word? Like they're sharing amongst their other properties just to decrease costs. I mean, it's obvious, but so now instead of even Walt Disney World, it doesn't say that, it just says Disney Parks. Yeah, and Universal is getting like that as well. Like we said with the Ghostbusters merch from this year. It's becoming Universal Parks, or rather than Universal Orlando specific or Universal Hollywood specific. And it's interesting because I know if she was here, she would say it. I think Tracy found maybe not quite the opposite, but when she went to Japan, there's a lot of stuff that's very Universal Japan specific. Oh, yeah. Whereas I'm trying to think, do the carrier bags at Universal Orlando Resort say Universal Orlando Resort? I don't think so. And yet she brought ones back, because I've got carrier bags from there that are specifically Universal Studios Japan. Right. So it's strange that they only seem to be doing it for the biggest Universal park in the world. Yeah. Why? It's very strange. I don't know. I've got Universal Orlando Resort carrier bags going back 20 years probably in our house. Yeah. I mean, we can't even get maps anymore. Yeah, and that was a bog standard. Like, we would come out of every trip. Our last trip into Ireland, it'd be just like, just grab a handful of maps on your way out, just so you know you've got some pristine ones. Yeah. Did they have Horror Nights maps last year, Michelle? Do you remember? I don't think so. think everything they're really encouraging everybody to use the apps. I mean, I think that you can get something printed if you go to guest services, like they'll print something just off their printer.
I think that's for people with disabilities and stuff, isn't it? But they don't do a printed map. And it's such a shame because that was always one thing you could guarantee bringing home from a trip, especially when you go back 5-10 years, that those park maps were always dated as well. So they'd be for a specific couple of months and they'd have a different image on the thing. Even going back further than that, I think when they did have the park maps, it was a generic both parks map. Whereas going back when we first started going, you could get an Islands of Adventure one and a Universal Studios Florida one. And then at some point they merged the pair of them, that one side was Studios and one side was Islands. And it's a shame.
Yep. Yeah, it really is hard to find freebies anymore, but I think we got some good ones listed.
There is some good ones.
Yeah. So shall I start us off?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Patrick Coffey sent us in a few that are really good. And this one was actually on my list as well. He says, my family stays at Hard Rock a lot. So we have a few related to that particular hotel. First one is have your room key turned into a guitar pick for free. And just to also piggyback off of that, they can do your actual room key, but they also just have a whole container full of just guitar picks that have been made out of old room keys. And they'll let you go through, if you have kids with you or really into this stuff, they'll let you go through the whole container of guitar picks and pick out some really good ones too.
It's super cool. I know when we stayed there, we only stayed there one night back in 2015, I think it was. And we grabbed a handful and the girl on the desk was just just take as many as you want.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's actually a really cool one.
It is. Especially I wonder how many people who play the guitar, that would be even cooler.
Yeah, see.
No.
It's still fun to get them even if you don't play an instrument, but
I mean, I started learning to play the guitar a long, long time ago and then broke my hand and just got out of it. So his second one is a free inflatable guitar for the kids at check-in. My son has gotten one a few times. I'm sure if you ask, they'll give you one. Is that a thing? Yeah,
it's been a while. But Krista did get one at check-in. Gosh, that was 8 years ago now, though, because she's...
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's changed post-COVID. COVID has a lot to answer for with things. I think...
Just going away, yeah.
For definite.
That's a good one for me to find out. I'll find out if they still do that. But yeah, okay. I have gotten one in the past for Krista, so...
That's cool, though.
Yeah, yep. And then sticking along with the guitar theme we got going on here, you can get a free guitar lesson in your room, not by a person or strange man, but by your TV. You can get a guitar and small amp sent to your room with chord lessons on your TV. Technically, you do pay a deposit, but it is 100% refunded when the guitar comes back in one piece. So yes, that's true.
The last thing you want is someone who thinks he's bloody Eric Clapton in the room next to you, but really isn't, and gets the guitar. I can't imagine anything worse.
Well, actually, they give you headphones that are plugged into it, and it won't play without the headphones.
Okay. Oh, that's good. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's good.
It's cool, though.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Actually, we have gotten this before, but we never actually used the guitar.
You just got it because you could. I mean, that's fair enough. What free? It's like when people just order toothpaste and toothbrushes from the hotel just because you can.
Just because you can, yeah. Well, we had all good intentions, but it never happened.
Yeah. So. That's maybe for your guests either side of you. That's maybe a good thing.
Yeah. They actually have a whole menu. They have a printout laminated at the front desk with, I don't know how many guitars, maybe 10 different guitars that you can pick, of course, if it's available. And then if you really have somebody in your party who is actually a guitarist and they actually want a specific guitar from that list, you can call ahead of time.
That's cool.
Or have your travel agent call ahead of time and request it. And they'll actually put it in your room for you before you even arrive. I've had a client who did that for her husband. So it was a surprise for him when he got in his room.
Awesome.
Yep.
His next one is free live music most nights at the Velvet Lounge Bar. The musicians are usually pretty good. You should probably buy something like an appetizer or a drink, but I've never seen them kick anybody out. Another great thing about the theme park area hotels, but Universal in particular, is everywhere on property is kid-friendly. I've sipped on quite a few adult beverages in the Velvet Bar listening to live music with my young son sat right next to me. This might come in handy for Chris over the next several years. I shall pass it on to him, but yes, for sure. Yeah, I mean, even when Velvet Sessions is going on, it's in the lobby.
It is.
So you could technically just stand in the lobby and listen to it. I'm not encouraging anybody to do that, but there's nothing stopping you doing it.
Right. Other than just getting tired of standing there.
Yes.
But yeah. Yep, that's true.
I haven't heard of this one either. I wonder if this is still a thing.
I haven't heard of this one either. There's apparently a magic show at the Kitchen restaurant. Technically not free since you do have to eat there. However, if you're going to grab dinner anyway, why not have some free tableside magic with your meal? I believe this is on Wednesdays and Fridays.
Okay.
Huh. Now, I mean, it has been a while since I've eaten at the Kitchen because it's not my favorite place, but that's pretty cool.
We ate their last trip. It was on a Tuesday. There was only us in there. It wasn't great, I'll be honest. It didn't make me want to go back again. Yeah,
it's not my fave. I like going down there for drinks, but the menu is not my favorite.
It wasn't even that. Tracy and I think we got an appetizer each, a dessert each. I had a soft drink, and she had like some alcoholic concoction, and it still came to $100, and I was like, what?
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Like, I haven't even had a meal. Like, I've had a dessert and an appetizer and a drink for $100. What?
Yep.
Yeah, no. The company was good though, I'll give you that. Yeah, good. So next on, he carries on others around Universal, and this one obviously is an obvious one. Free opera singers at Portofino, which I think Tracy and I caught them just briefly when we stayed there back in 2022, but we didn't have time to sort of sit and watch. As you know, Tracy and I, like, I would love to be the type of person that could just go, do you know what, we're not going to go into City Walk tonight, we're not going to do anything, we're just going to grab some drinks, grab an ice cream or whatever, and just sit in the piazza and enjoy that. But that's us.
But, I mean, I think Tracy could, but you definitely cannot.
I think, yeah, she's definitely getting a bit slower in her old age now, so she'd probably quite happily,
you know what I mean?
No, you won't. Yeah, it's one of those regrets that I wish having stayed at most of the on-site hotels, we're actually ticking another one off the list this year, so there'll only be Aventura we haven't stayed at of the current block of hotels. We've never spent an awful lot of time in any of them. Yeah.
Well, and to enjoy these opera singers, you don't have to stay at Portofino, obviously, because it's just right there on one of the balconies in the piazza. They do it pretty much every night, weather permitting. They're not doing them right now because of all the construction that's going on at Portofino. But once all of that is done, I'm sure they'll kick it back up. But it is very, very nice, especially like they do it kind of in the evening when the sun's going down, and it's kind of right around like right after check-in, like normal check-in time. So if this is your first visit to Portofino or your first stay there, and you walk into that, and you're like, what? This is crazy. It just is such a cool experience.
It's awesome. I love the attention to the theming that Universal do with their on-site hotels.
Yep, for sure.
I mean, it's funny, speaking of their on-site hotels, Tracy and I were watching, what were we watching? Vincent Vision's video, YouTube video yesterday, and they went to Icon Park and went up in the Orlando Eye. Have you seen how big that Helios hotel is? Holy
No,
I
haven't.
It's massive. It's huge. It is, because obviously from the Orlando Eye you can see out over Epic Universe. That is the thing that stands out over everything else.
I can't wait.
It's massive. Oh, yeah, you can spend your $2,000 a night.
I'm going to have to try real hard to just get the most standard room available that just overlooks the dang trash cans. but I want to stay there so badly.
It certainly looks like they've gone above and beyond what they've done with their like premier hotels at Universal Orlando and blown it out the water. It looks unreal. That's
crazy. Awesome. Well, continuing on at Portofino, you can also take, well, this is not just Portofino. This is any of it for anywhere, but you can take a free water taxi ride. You don't even have to be staying at any of the premier hotels. Hop on at City Walk and head over to Portofino for some opera, or head over to Sapphire or Royal Pacific or Hard Rock and enjoy any of the amenities that are there except for the pool.
I don't think a lot of people realize that the water taxis are for everybody. I think Maddie's mentioned it before when she used to drive them, that she didn't like a lot of people were like, can we get on? Because we're not staying. She's like, yeah, please get on, go. I think people think if you're not staying at the hotels, then you can't go to the hotels. And to be fair, we probably thought the same for the longest time. And it was only when we came over in 2013 and we were with a friend Eric of ours, and he was like, shall we jump on the water taxi? And we're like, what? And we just did a big loop on the water taxi down to Portofino and back round. And
I always say it's my first ride of the day. Like I love just riding on the water taxi. It's don't even, Lee. Don't even.
Chris isn't here. I've got to do it. That's what she said.
The water taxi is my first ride of the day. Okay, Lee?
Poor Nancy.
Goodness gracious.
But I love the water taxis, especially coming back from the parks. If you get the right skipper and everybody's singing, it's awesome.
It is. It can be really fun.
Yeah. Yep. And his last one is, if you can't find a reason for them to give you a button, make one up.
Through that.
We will be getting them this year.
Yeah, so you can get your celebration button at your hotel, at any of them, or at guest services.
I didn't know you could get them at the hotels. That's interesting.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
And you can even call ahead and let them know that you're celebrating something, and they'll have it. They usually have it waiting for you. But I mean, anything from happy birthday to anniversary to first visit, or they just have blank ones that, say I'm celebrating, and then they write on it what you're celebrating.
Well, this will be the closest we've ever been to our birthdays. So I guess we'll definitely be celebrating that. Obviously, Tracy's graduation will definitely be getting celebrated. So yeah, we'll probably have buttons on every day.
Yeah, she should have a button on that says, I'm celebrating graduation. That's perfect.
Oh, yeah, that's next week. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I will put a disclaimer out. The thoughts of John Tyler do not necessarily agree with those of Michelle and Lee and Chris and Tracy from the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast.
Okay.
Michelle.
Oh, God.
Because I think this is Tyler. The reason why they're not there anymore.
Well, yeah, I'm going to say this is kind of hard to do now because they're pretty much taking these away. But you can use those 3D glasses from Kong, Fast and Furious, etc. as a souvenir.
I mean, I'm guessing a lot of people did. That's why some of the rides don't have them anymore.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, doesn't an alarm go off or something if you try to walk out with them?
I think they did, but I don't think they always did. In other words, I think that's a new thing. So I don't think it's always been the case.
Kong is awful without 3D glasses. It's terrible.
I'm still hearing very different. I've heard a few people say they didn't mind it.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Is it still in 3D? Like, is it blurry, or have they just turned like one of the projectors off?
I mean, I guess it still kind of feels like it's 3D, but if you've experienced that ride with the glasses, it does no longer feel 3D.
So the question I'm asking you, if you took your own 3D glasses along and put them on, would it be the same as it was? Have they just took the glasses off, or have they changed the actual projection screen?
Like, when you just take your 3D glasses off, the screen looks really fuzzy.
Right?
No, it doesn't look like that.
Okay.
It doesn't look fuzzy.
So they've obviously turned off, because I think it's like a double layered projection, isn't it? So they've obviously turned one of the projection layers off.
Yeah. But, the thing is that when you wore those 3D glasses,
It didn't just hide the 3D.
It hit a lot of like the periphery, like the peripheral stuff. So now you can you see like the edges of the screens.
Oh, that's not good.
It just takes you out of it takes you out of the moment.
It's funny, I've just watched King Kong today, the Peter Jackson one, and it's like when Kong opened at Universal, they never said what it was based on. Like, I think they kind of said, oh, it's not based on the Peter Jackson one, and it's not based on the Skull Island that came out recently. And it's like, I watched Peter Jackson's King Kong today, and I went, this is 100% based on Peter Jackson's film. Because even all the creatures are in it.
Oh, okay.
So there's big wormy things with the
squirt.
Yeah, they're in there. It's entirely based off that one, which is super strange. I will reserve judgment from when we get to see it, because I've heard a few people. I think Kayla, Tracy's co-host from Taste of Universal, I'm sure she wrote it and she went, I didn't think it was that bad. But the vast majority of people I've heard said
it was terrible.
We'll see. We shall see. Moving on from Katie Mack. She says, if you stayed at the Hard Rock Hotel, you can ask the Rock Shop for them to cut a guitar pick shaped out of your room key when you leave. So cool and free. Well, after you pay to stay at the Hard Rock. So technically that pick's cost you about $300 a night.
No, yeah, true.
I didn't know you could get it done in the Rock Shop as well. That's cool.
I didn't either. I've always just done it at the
front desk.
At the front desk, yeah.
I know it's not in here, so I'm going to mention it while we're here, but I guess the lei that you would get when you check into Royal Pacific as well could be one. Yeah,
I actually had that on my list.
Okay,
so
sorry.
They aren't always doing it. I guess it depends on what time of day you check in, but
yeah, because the first time we stayed there, we didn't get one, and then when we stayed there for the first weekend, we did.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know if you ask for one, if they can go in the back and grab them, but sometimes they're just out like standing right in front of the main doors and just kind of handing them out as you walk in.
That's probably, like you say, it'll be down to when you check in. So when we checked in, when we were there with you and Robin, it was probably prime check-in time for a lot of people coming in and out.
Was it early in the morning?
It was about 4:00.
Okay, yeah. So then it must be right around the 3:00 actual check-in time.
Whereas when we checked in, when we stayed there in 2013, we were there at like 8:00 in the morning.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep, true. Okay, now we got one from John Roberts. He says, the various behind-the-scenes tours are a nice added touch that don't come with additional costs. I have only been able to get the Men in Black immigration tour so far. I've tried the Mummy tour, but haven't been successful in timing it correctly. It seems to need a correct amount of staffing to be able to be offered.
Yes, and that's what we know about this. I mean, I've done the immigration tour a couple of times. We got to do the Mummy one. I mean, how awesome was that? 2:00 in the morning after a full night RIP tour was awesome. And
Rich is the best.
It really is. I was amazed at how close to that coaster track you actually get.
I know.
Like, David is a big fella and he could virtually touch it.
Yeah. I mean, if we'd had Joe with us, he would have had to duck.
100%. Yeah, it was so cool. Yeah. So I thought we might as well chuck them in there because there are a lot. And I'm going to see if Tracy and I can do some when we come over. So just going off Universal Studios Florida's the immigration tour at Men in Black. There's the production tour at Revenge of the Mummy. There's the studio tour at Race Through New York starring Jimmy Fallon. There's the garage tour at Fast and Furious Supercharged. There is the bank tour at Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts. And if you're very lucky, and I know this one is the hardest one to get, the forest tour at E.T. Adventure. Now, I know there's only team members who've worked there for a very long time will know that one. So if you manage to get that one, that is like the pinnacle of getting behind the scenes tours at Universal.
Oh, that's so cool. And then, over at IOA, we can do behind the scenes tours of the Amazing Spider-Man ride. That's the Bugle tour. You can do a temple tour at Skull Island Reign of Kong. You can do a castle tour at Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, the Gamma tour at the Incredible Hulk coaster, the Paddock tour at Jurassic World Velocicoaster, and then the Villain tour at Doctor Doom's Fearfall.
Who knew there was that many?
No clue.
I mean, I didn't know. I got these off Josh from doing the Big Fat Quiz of the Year last year because it was one of his questions. But yeah, I always knew there was a few, but I certainly didn't know there was that many. And then obviously there's the Hard Rock Cafe, the Vibe Tour you can do there as well, which is cool.
Yeah. Hard Rock Cafe Vibe Tour. So I guess they just walk around looking at all the different memorabilia that's there.
I think they actually have a person, because one of the rooms, there's a room in there that used to be for VIPs, and it's got like all signed stuff in there from people who've visited over the years. I think I've never done, like I say, other than the Mummy Tour and the Immigration Tour, I've never done any of them.
Me neither. Yeah, those
but
are the
I
only two
definitely
I've
want
done.
to, because I did charge you and Chris trying to do some when you were out there. I guess that didn't happen. It's difficult though, isn't it? Because it's trying. You forget.
Yeah.
Especially if you go when it's busy. I want to see if we can do a few when we're out.
Right. Well, and even though when you come out, you're here and trying to squeeze in a lot as well. But you have to remember that when Chris and I go, we don't stay as long as you stay.
Yes.
So
and Chris doesn't move outside of the bar.
Yeah. So when we were just down there, we were just for 4 nights and 3 days in the park. So, that's still a lot to squeeze in to 3 days. So
yeah, we actually I forgot, because we did the booth tour at Twister as well.
Okay.
When that was still open, and actually on a I can't think of the word I want to use, like a memorable day for Twister, because we did it the day they announced it was closing.
Aww.
And that was pretty cool, actually, getting to get up there and see that Twister show from like the actual tech booth was pretty awesome. It's better than seeing it for real, to be fair.
I wish they would do like an actual paid tour of behind the scenes stuff.
Yes.
Like Disney has the key to the
keys
kingdom.
To the kingdom. Yeah, it would be cool.
It would be cool.
And people would pay for it.
Even though all this stuff is free, it would be cool to be a part of a tour that does it all, and I'm not having to try to figure out how to make it happen myself.
Well, guarantee it. That's the thing. I think a lot of these, if anybody's looking at doing these tours, the issue is that they will only do them if they have free staff members.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I know before we've asked any chance of getting down the Immigration Tour, and they say, oh, sorry, we're super busy at the moment. It's only if they have someone free to be able to take you down there. I'm sure if you did a VIP tour, like we did with the Rich on our RIP tour, you could probably ask the tour guide, hey, any chance we can do that?
Well, I know, so I've done a non-private VIP tour daytime, and they did take us and did the Mummy one, and I believe the Men in Black one. And I'm sure if you did a private VIP tour, you could request.
Of course you could, because you're
all
paying
of that
the money.
stuff,
Yeah.
But I'm not going to pay $4,000 for a behind-the-scenes tour. But yeah,
okay,
sounds cool.
Cool. Right, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. I wish to go to Walt Disney World.
When you wish upon a star,
the cliff doors creak and the tombstones quake.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Where can our vacation wizards take you? Just tap the port key at portkeyvacations.com and let the magic begin.
Welcome back, everyone. We are discussing free souvenirs and stuff that you can do that's part of your ticket price that isn't necessarily attractions and stuff like that. Michelle, would you like to continue?
Sure. We've got one from Grayson Albers, and he says, after cleaning out my travel bag today, I realized that I have way too many free souvenirs from Universal Hotels. They include the hotel-branded hand sanitizers. He says he has 5 of them from 3 different hotels. Shampoos and conditioners, specifically the cool ones from Cabana Bay. Those are very cool. And the hotel maps that they give you at check-in.
Yes.
Oh, and not to mention the numerous hotel room keys that have various themes and tempt you to collect them all. As for City Walk in the parks, I can't think of much for free that I typically take away, especially now that the paper maps are gone. I have quite a few of the HHN guides from various years.
It's funny, those hotel branded hand sanitizers, I think Tracy has them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the soaps from, like, we take all of them. They all come home with us. Pens,
oh, yeah, for sure.
Pens and
That
notepads,
sure.
They come home with us. I think we've got notepads and pens from every hotel we've stayed at. They've come home. I don't know whether you're supposed to take them.
I mean, I don't see why not.
They're not glued down, I guess, so.
In that case, take the dang telephone with you too.
That's usually screwed to the table, to be fair.
I love my hotel room keys. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with them yet, but I've seen like different ideas on how to display them or whatever. So I'm trying to decide what to do with them. But I do like to collect my room keys. Yeah,
I've got all of ours from every time we've stayed, and also the hotel maps. See all of that stuff. I've got boxes and boxes of stuff. So every year we go, I have a box. I mean, this is the coolest one. I've got a box under there, and I keep all our receipts as well.
Oh?
Yeah. I've got receipts in there from trips to Disney and Universal from 20 years ago. But I've got one that is in like a takeout box from the Green Eggs and Ham Cafe before it was tater tots. So I've got receipts and little maps and just full of crap that I'll bring home from every trip. But like we've said, that gets less every time we go because there isn't as much of that stuff to bring home anymore.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I even keep my park tickets. I'm an annual pass holder most of the time, but like my Halloween Horror Nights tickets and express passes, like the actual printed ones, I keep all of that stuff.
Yep.
And what's cool about the printed tickets, and especially HHN and the express passes, is it says on it what it's for and the dates.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. Like when I'm going through all my crap trying to clean and I come across an HHN ticket from my first year going, I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. So I'll figure out something creative to do with them someday and share it. But yeah.
I mean, I've got with obviously doing this for as long as we have, I've had a lot of listeners send me things over the years. I mean, I've got the actual photographic press pack from when Islands of Adventure opened, and it's super cool.
That's awesome.
And stuff like that. Like a friend of ours gave me some stuff from like the 25th anniversary, a magazine that they printed out for, I don't know whether it was for team members or just to people in general and stuff like that. It's still wrapped in saran wrap. Like I haven't even opened it yet because I daren't. So a lot of stuff like that, and buttons from here, there and everywhere, and just all this random stuff that it's like not free souvenirs, but it's like how many bloody wax molds, I don't know how many you've got, but I've got hundreds in our house now because of those bloody things.
I have none.
I think we have all of them that were available every trip we've been. And it's like Joni couldn't get theirs home without breaking them, and they only live in Tennessee, and we got all ours home like across the Atlantic Ocean. But Tracy's an incredible packer. Moving on, next one comes up from Kelly Wood. She says, "Hi friends, my favourite free thing from the hotels are the room key cards. It may seem silly, but because each key has the date and hotel name, not to mention the wide array of actual designs, each key brings back specific memories for me. For example, I can look at my key featuring Hagrid's from Dockside that brings back all my weekend of 2022 memories. When I look at my Velocicoaster key from Portofino, that brings back memories of a great birthday trip with an insane pass holder rate, ... Or I can look at my Wizarding World key from Cabana Bay and instantly be transported to my first Halloween Horror Nights. It was only last year. Which brings back memories of coming back from the park at 2 a.m. only to stay up several more hours eating snacks and talking with Grace and Kayla. Something so little that they don't need to do means so much to me because it's so specifically tied to memories in my happy place. Much love, Kelly." That's true.
That is true.
Yeah. It is the most random things that can hold the biggest memories for you on trips. It's weird.
It is funny. And, you know, it's funny that she mentioned specifically staying up with Grace, because the next one is from Grace Wiley, and she says the exact same thing. If you stay on site, room keys are a great free keepsake. They have your name, the hotel name, and your dates. So it's a fun, personalized souvenir. I keep all my room keys so I can look back at all the different trips I've taken. Plus, they're really small, so you don't need a lot of space to keep them. So look at that. They were just meant to be friends.
Absolutely. Yeah, even if you're not staying on site, riding the water taxi around is super fun. It's free to do, and you don't even have to be a hotel guest outside of the very crowded times of year when they might check your room key. Is that true?
I think that they've done it before at Sapphire because they had so many people coming over from Aventura and Cabana.
That makes sense. Yeah, because originally when we were looking at coming out this year, for the longest time, this is weird, Dockside, Surfside, Cabana Bay and Aventura were all coming up on Virgin as a package, all the same price. And I was like, well, I'm staying at Aventura if they're all the same price. And like talking to Tracy, it's like, we can just walk across to Sapphire and get the water taxi in. Because it is literally like 2-minute walk.
Yeah.
So I can understand them doing that at massively busy times.
But when was that? I think that might have only been during like the peak time of Halloween Horror Nights or something, but it's definitely not, it's not common because I've stayed at Aventura and Cabana many times and used the water taxi with no problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's just judging when you're there and how busy it is, but I'd be very surprised.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
It seems strange that they don't include Aventura on the water taxi anyway. I know it's not technically on it, but it really is.
Right. Right. Something that Grace likes to do in the parks is talk to the Mystic Fountain. She says this is always so fun and memorable. Plus, if you ask him to take a picture with you, he'll do the big spray. That's what she said. So you can get a great photo to keep. Oh, Grace.
Yeah, there's tons of little stuff. It's weird, like, because I kind of tasked you with coming up with some stuff, and I've been thinking myself, and it's like, what do you class as things you can do in the park, experiences that are free? And it's like, is something like this, like, is meeting characters like a free experience, or is it just part of being in the park? And
for me, the actual meeting of them is not necessarily a free experience, but like getting their autographs could be. That's a souvenir you actually take home that doesn't cost you any extra.
Is that still a thing? Do people still have those like signature passport things that we used to get?
Yeah.
Really? And you don't see it as much anymore, do you? I remember getting, like, the first time we came over and Tracy getting one from Hollywood Studios and getting all the signatures. And it was, I tell you what, I'm going to put this funny story out there. We've probably told it on the show before, but I remember meeting Winnie and Woody Woodpecker in Port of Entry. And they signed the book. To Lee and Tracy, love Winnie and Woody Woodpecker. And we were like, what the hell? How do you even know our names? Like, we were blown. Like, what the hell? It's only because Tracy had wrote our names in the back of it in the address part, and they just looked in the back to see our names in it. But we didn't, because it was like a week later, we completely forgot. So when they wrote we were like, how do you, what's going on?
That's great.
It was brilliant. But because at the time I was just like, how do you know that? That's it's scary. Like, we're not famous yet. This was before the podcast. Not that we're
That's
that
what I was going to say.
now.
Well, nowadays that would be nothing. It just means it's somebody that you know.
She said the raptor encounter, it's always different, super memorable, and they take pictures and video with your phone, so you don't need the photo package. My friends talk about our raptor encounter experience all the time. I mean, let's be honest, probably the best character meet and greet in the parks.
Easily, hands down.
Sorry to my friends who are friends of those characters, but yeah, it is awesome.
I love it so much. Spells at park close, my ultimate pro tip. This one is harder to make happen, but it's one of my absolute favorite Universal memories. If you eat dinner in the parks, you can often stay after park close if the restaurant stays open that late. This means if you eat at one of the Potter restaurants and leave right at park close, you can sometimes get a chance to do the interactive wand effects with no line. During that window, there are still people in line for the rides, so the team members don't always force you to leave the land yet. We found this by accident a few years ago. We ate at Leaky Cauldron and left the restaurant a few minutes after park close. It was dark outside and there was absolutely no one in Diagon Alley except us and some team members.
Nice.
They didn't mind us being back there because people were still coming off Green Guts. We got to do the Lumos spell on the lanterns at the end of the alley completely by ourselves. And what she means to say is completely by ourselves without all those bratty little kids taking up all the time.
Michelle.
And watching them light up the whole alley in the dark is one of my most magical memories. Anyway, that was probably more than you were looking for, but I just had to share. Love, Grace.
No, that's like, we've done it before where we've closed out Forbidden Journey. Before Hagrid's was a thing, when we came over in 2013, I remember going in with a friend of ours into Forbidden Journey and just really going, right, it's the last ride of the night. We stood and watched like the whole Dumbledore office scene. We stopped in the Defense Against the Dark Art room and watched both of those shows, and we were just letting people go past so we could, our aim was to be the last ones on the ride. And I think we ended up doing it. But then by the time we got out, Hogsmeade was deserted. There was literally just like me, Tracy, the two kids, and our friend Eric in there with us, and just being in one of those areas without it being full of people. You can hear like all the sounds from the windows and the music properly, and it's such a different place when it's not full of people. And it is, to use a cliche, it is magical. Yeah, especially just as it's about dusk, so it's not quite dark, but like everything's lit up. It is gorgeous. I mean, I know when we came over for the weekend was that 2 years ago? Christ. Tracy and I went into Diagon Alley the nights beforehand, like the Tuesday or the Wednesday night, and it was pretty dead. And we sat at the top of the stairs to nowhere, and there was barely anybody in Diagon Alley, and it was so cool. But you rarely get to experience those two areas like that.
Yeah, Diagon Alley used to be dead like that during Halloween Horror Nights, but not anymore.
No. So Michelle, have you got any suggestions?
Surprisingly, I do. I have like 4. I couldn't believe it weren't spoken of. So a souvenir that I have way too many of is the cups that you get at the bars when you get certain drinks.
See, technically they're not free though, are they? See, I thought about putting the butterbeer cups down because you've bought a drink.
Because you can get the drink without it, I guess. But I guess you do have to pay for it.
But because I ummed and ahed over whether to put the bog standard like Wizarding World cups in there. And like technically you have to buy a drink to get that, don't you?
Yeah, but like when I buy the Shark Attack, for instance, you can't get that drink without getting that cup. Yeah. So it's not like I want to buy just the cup.
It's I
really just want the drink, and it comes with it, you know?
Okay.
And then same with some of the drinks, like at the hotels, if you're like chilling by the pool or whatever, a lot of those drinks, you have to get it in that cup.
Okay.
And you can keep it.
It's like you could argue like Tracy's Bubba Tub came in an actual bucket that says Bubba Tub on the side, because the first one she got didn't have the sticker on it, which is why she used the excuse of like, I need to go back and get another one now because I need one with a sticker on it.
Yeah. I see a lot of people leaving those plastic cups around, I guess. I mean, I probably should as well because I have too many, but I mean, you can keep them, you can take them with you, and you can reuse them and get a little discount on your drink next time. So that's one thing.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
And then let's see. Oh, priority admission certificates for kids who are too short to ride a ride.
Great one, yes.
Yeah, this is not a very well-known thing, but a lot of the bigger rides that have height limitations, like the roller coasters, I've seen one for Hagrid's, which is a really cool one. If you have a kid that really wants to ride it, but they're not big enough yet, go up there and get the priority admission certificate. They'll put your kid's name on it, sign it, whatever, and you can keep it. Technically, you're supposed to bring it back when they're tall enough and they get to go through the express pass line, but really cool souvenir.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then the owl post. So if you bring your, like you can buy, they have postcards and stuff there in the owl post in Hogsmeade if you want to buy those, which I have in the past. But I mean, technically, if you want to just bring your own and have the owl post stamp it from Hogsmeade,
that's cool.
The stamping is free.
Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's a really cool stamp that it's not like actual postage. So if you want to send it somewhere, you still have to put actual postage on it.
Yeah, but the actual stamp, yeah.
Yeah, but they do a really cool stamp on it that says that it's from Hogsmeade.
Okay.
And do they still do the naming of the dinosaur egg thing in Discovery Center?
I was just about to bring that up. You must have read my mind. I think so. And you get a certificate for that as well, don't you? Because then you can go back and check every time.
If you get chosen to name the dinosaur, then yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do. So I was going to bring up the scarecrow stalk and the Christmas tree hunt. And you go, wait, it's like $10 to do that. You don't have to buy the booklet to go with it.
You don't have to.
Just go around and look at the trees or the scarecrows. Like, you don't have to buy the booklet to get the thing. You can still take part in it.
Very true.
One that I brought up, because if Tracy had been here, she would have done the Minion Blast scavenger hunt.
Oh, yeah.
So the RFID tags that are hidden around Illumination Avenue is a great...
Yeah.
She was obsessed with it when we were there last year. Like, we were stood with Chris and Alexa, and she's like, "I won't be a minute." And she was gone for like 5 minutes. Like, "Where have you... Oh, I know where you've been."
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah. I wish they'd do more stuff like that around the parks, because it costs them next to nothing.
Right.
And look, if it can keep Tracy happy, it's going to keep kids happy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
So that was all I had. That was a lot more stuff than I thought we could come up with, to be honest.
Yeah, it's definitely like we've both said. I think if we'd have done this 10 years ago, it would have been very different.
Yeah.
But now it's, they don't want to give you anything for free anymore.
Yeah. You know, a funny thing that Maddie from Rush of Fear collects during Halloween Horror Nights, you know, sometimes when you get in a line, they give you those
the little tickets.
Those little tickets
I know,
that you're supposed to then hand in when you get to the end of the line. She keeps them.
That's why it was always a thing when they used to do the 3D houses. I've got a set of Horror Nights 3D, you know, the paper 3D glasses. I've got a set of them somewhere from 2015.
That's funny.
Yeah,
she keeps them and puts them in like a jar or whatever and collects them to see how many she can get throughout the season.
Very strange.
She tries to. I think she tries to like beat her number each year.
but it is a little thing you can collect, and there isn't much like that anymore. And this is that. To be fair, those are the types of things we're talking about, and there isn't as much anymore of that. Just random little thing that you're like, oh, I remember we got that in line for whatever house it was.
Right. I mean, if you had a pen with you, you could even write on it, like what house it came from or whatever. I don't know. That's it's silly, but it's fun. And she has a blast doing it. It's so funny when you're in line with her. She's like, and everybody's holding a ticket. She's like, can I have that?
I've never really understood why they give them out either, to be fair.
I don't know either. I guess it's something that has to do with line skipping, I guess, but
no idea.
Half the time they don't collect them back at the end, so it doesn't really make sense.
Exactly. Very strange, very strange.
That was a fun episode.
Yeah. Because it's like it is difficult because there isn't that much. You can see how many people mentioned room keys to tell you how much that is a thing for everybody. But like I say, I just threw that out to the Producers Club. So everyone else listening, if you have any things that you think would be worth a mention, definitely shoot to us at podcast@uopodcast.com, because I'd love to get a bigger list, but I don't think there is that much anymore, which is a shame.
I mean, there could be things that we just don't know about.
It'll be interesting to see when Epic opens if there's anything you can get for free in there.
I wonder if they'll have park maps.
Probably not. If you thinking they're building this park to be the next generation of theme park, probably not.
Yeah.
But it'd be a shame. It would be nice even if they just did for the first year, like commemorative opening year park maps.
So cool.
Would be awesome.
I'm just so afraid they're going to open while I'm in Greece.
Which is when?
Beginning like July 6th for like 10 days.
Yeah, it's I think we're getting to the point where free things in theme parks just don't happen anymore, do they? They just want to
I don't think so.
nickel
they want
and dime you for
money.
everything. Yeah. Of course they do. And more, $30 for a bubble wand. Have that. $18 for a bloody ET cupcake in the tribute store. No, thank you.
You know what? I'm going to buy a bubble wand, and I bet Lee is going to have fun with it. And I'm going to take lots of pictures and post of Lee playing. I was going to say Lee playing with my bubble wand, but I think that's going to get a
yes, let's
just
leave
if
that.
I say that.
Speaking of that is going to wrap up this episode. Again, like you said, if you have any suggestions for the things that we've been talking about, email us at podcast@uopodcast.com. I'd love to hear people's suggestions that we haven't come up with, because it would be interesting. But of course, that's going to wrap up this week. Don't forget, we want you to let us know how bad Fast and Furious Supercharged is, as well as getting your Witch Stick gets your lick recordings to us, and you can send all of that to that email address, which is again at podcast@uopodcast.com. But for Michelle, I have been Lee, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Are you insane? Get out of here. The curse, it's real. The podcast is over. So, the Magi want you to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, TikTok, and Pinterest. Just search UUO Podcast. For all the podcast news and articles, check out our blog at UUOpodcast.com. Contact us by emailing us at podcast@uuopodcast.com. And if you want to join the Producers Club, email us at uupproducers@gmail.com. Silence! With your subscriptions, we shall rule for all eternity. Listen and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Not even the Magi can save you now. There is no escape. Your end shall be my beginning. Prepare yourself for your next trip by emailing Michelle at portkeyvacations.com. She can take care of all aspects of your next Universal Orlando vacation. We hope you enjoyed your podcast. Please remain seated and keep your arms and legs inside the prepare to forfeit your souls. Check out the other podcasts on the UUOP network. Rush of Fear Halloween Horror Nights podcast, the theme park duo for all your West Coast news and info, and the Taste of Universal Orlando food podcasts. So hey, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. I would have enjoyed this podcast a lot more if I had gotten my cup of coffee.